Coming up, they have no reason to stop us, but that doesn't mean they're going to stop. A grand adventure in a gaggle of Cirruses, and picking the right doc for your medical certificate. AOPA Live this week begins in just a moment. Customs and Border Protection is stopping and searching general aviation pilots for no apparent good reason, at least no reason they're willing to make public. Hello and welcome to AOPA Live this week. I'm Tom Haynes. We've been trying to find out what authority CBP has to stop pilots and search aircraft. Apparently they don't have any authority. At least that's about the only thing you can conclude from their latest response to our questions. Executive producer Warren Morningstar joins us now from the Media Center. And Warren, what does CBP have to say for itself this time?
Well, hi, Tom. This is a letter from the Acting Customs and Border Protection Commissioner. It's an answer to our letter from the middle of June. And, actually, that's a pretty fast response for the federal government. Again, AOPA asked under what authority is CBP stopping pilots and searching aircraft. The letter itself, to quote AOPA's chief counsel, was non-responsive.
I thought it was a kiss-off. I thought it was a kiss-off letter. It didn't address what the heck they're doing, stopping people without any cause.
And Meade knows when a government agency is trying to obscure what they're doing. He spent years rooting out mismanagement, waste, and fraud as the Inspector General for the Department of Transportation. Now, in this latest letter, Customs and Border Protection claimed their stop and search authority came from Title 14 of the Federal Code of Regulations. All the rest of you know that as the FARs.
Well, they seem to be trying to piggyback on FAA's authority, and the point is they don't address the number one issue. The number one issue is when a law enforcement official stops you, they're supposed to have reasonable suspicion of illegal activity or probable cause, and they don't even address that. It's like you can make these indiscriminate stops without cause.
But indiscriminate stops may be just where things are going. John Peterson is a futurist. The former naval aviator advises businesses and government agencies on trends. And he was inside the Bush White House when decisions were made about restricting general aviation.
Seemed to have no interest at all in what the effects of their policies were going to be on aircraft owners, pilots, the American public for that matter. They were just so hard over on, we're doing what we're going to do and it makes no difference what anybody else thinks. And it was really surprising to me that there was no concern about the economy, there was no concern about how people would be displaced or.
And he sees a disturbing trend.
I'm a futurist, and I look at this in large, broad kind of terms, and what you can see is that the government is increasingly inserting themselves at all levels of our activities. And they are tracking license plates now in the United States so that they know where your cars are. They're obviously the NSA is looking into everything that you and collecting everything that you say on the phone and everything that you do on the internet and all of your purchases and so on. And so there's a trend. In my business, that's a trend. And there are indicators that point toward an underlying kind of motivation to be increasingly control and eliminate ambiguity, if you will, and I think it wouldn't be far-fetched to posit that that VFR flying is a problem for some people in the government right now because they can't control it and they don't know where it is and they don't know who's in the airplane and they don't know where they're going.
Well, the feds may not like it, but it still doesn't give them the right to stop innocent pilots.
This is not right. And in this particular case, it's really about that. This is about something that's right, that's fundamentally right. the notion that the government can arbitrarily going to stop you and search you or eliminate your ability to kind of go where you want to go is really against the essential nature of the Constitution.
And in this country, law enforcement needs to have reasonable suspicion of illegal activity. And when they don't, they have no business stopping people. And if they want to pick on our members, they're picking a big fight.
Warren, hard to believe. So has anything changed since we started our investigation?
Well, you know, Tom, that's what's interesting about all of this. Since we first poked the anthill, if you will, the number of pilot stops seems to have declined. And apparently, if you refuse to let them search the aircraft, they just go away. At least that's what happened in one case we know of. And that's why we revised the kneeboard guide on law enforcement stops. Now, you can find it on our website at the address you see on the screen. But now it's even more important that pilots tell us if they've been stopped by law enforcement.
Your viewers and listeners have been stopped and they haven't reported it to us. Please do. Every time we go up to the Congress, the congressional committees on this issue, they ask us that. In fact, one congressional staffer said, "Do you think that they have stopped because you got their attention?" And well, we don't know for sure. And maybe they did, but I caution you, it's temporary. That's how these things work. And we want a permanent stopwatch to it.
We have an online form you can use to report a stop. It's under the Advocacy tab in Security and Borders. Tom?
Well, thanks, Warren, for keeping us up to date on that one. Still more to come, you can bet. You heard from futurist John Peterson in Warren's story. John happens to be one of the 10 experts who are contributing to our Opinion Leaders blog. Thought-provoking commentary from different corners of the aviation world, and they don't always agree with each other or even with AOPA for that matter. You can find it under the News and Video tab. And where can you find AOPA technical editor Mike Collins? Good question. Right now he's in the right seat of a Mitsubishi MU-2 circling the globe. At the moment we're recording this, he's in Bali, and Mike is blogging about that adventure. This is the 50th anniversary of the unusual turboprop rocket. The round-the-world flight is part of that celebration. Alaska may not be the end of the world, but when you think about flying there, it does seem to be beyond the limits of mere mortal pilots and civilized airplanes. More the natural habitat of tail draggers with boonie tires maybe, or perhaps beavers on floats. Certainly not hospitable to high-performance composite airplanes, or is it? Here's more from AOPA pilot senior editor Dave Hirschman.
Alaska is the last place you'd expect to find city slicker SR-20s and SR-22s. But Southeast Alaska is within easy non-stop range of the turbocharged SR-22 Generation 5 we flew from Seattle. And the sleek composite airplane with its advanced avionics, ice protection, and increased gross weight handles the rigors of the trip beautifully. The 600 nautical mile flight up the Inner Passage unfolds like a storybook on a rare blue sky morning. Then we wind our way northward along the jagged mountains and ocean to Glacier Bay. A stunning waterway ringed with mountains and ice and inhabited by salmon and humpback whales. The sun is still high above the horizon at 9 p.m. as we fly along this rugged and pristine natural area. These sites are novel to AOPA photographer Chris Rose and me, but the area is well known to Cirrus instructor Luke Lyson and his colleagues at the Flight Academy in Seattle. This is their 10th aerial tour that they've led through this area, and they organize all the logistics and help with the flight planning to make sure it all goes smoothly. For some, the flying is the challenge and the attraction. It's often cloudy, and without radar coverage, IFR flying with reporting points and full procedures is different than the lower 48 states. Others come for the unmatched scenery and the adventure of being in such a vast wilderness. And then there's the fishing. We only got to spend one full day on the water, but we could have filled the baggage compartments of all our airplanes with salmon, halibut, and cod. The good weather holds for our 3.5-hour flight back to Seattle. Alaska might seem like the end of the earth at times, but it's well within the reach of GA pilots with airplanes like these. Dave Hirschman, AOPA Live.
You can read more about the flight in the October issue of AOPA Pilot Magazine. The digital edition is out next week. Up next, Avgas for a Buck. You can find it on the way to the AOPA Aviation Summit and picking the right dock for your medical certificate. AOPA Live this week continues in just a moment. Welcome back. How about Avgas for a buck a gallon? Sounds too good to be true. And it is true, though, at least for the month of October in San Marcos, Texas, at the Redbird Skyport. It's part of an experiment that simulator maker Redbird is running to see how much the price of gas affects flying. And it's also timed to coincide with the AOPA Aviation Summit, October 10th through the 12th, just up the airway at Fort Worth. You can learn more about the deal on aopa.org. And you can learn a lot more about dealing with the weather at an upcoming Air Safety Institute in-person seminar. Weather Challenge is the latest from AOPA's safety arm, and you'll learn about the most important weather resources for pilots, risk management and decision-making, and the promise and pitfalls of in-cockpit weather. Go to our website to find out when Weather Challenge is scheduled to be near you. As we get older, a lot of pilots worry about passing the medical certificate exam. If you develop a medical issue before your next review, you need to go to the medical certification section on AOPA's website and see if the condition will require a special issuance waiver. And if it does, there are a lot of hoops you need to jump through properly to keep your medical. Know the hoops. Dr. Warren Silberman, formerly with the FAA Aerospace Medical Certification Office and now a consultant at AOPA, just wrote this article on special issuance. And of course, you can find a lot more in our medical section. And to get or renew your medical certificate, you need to visit an aviation medical examiner, an AME. So how do you pick the right doc? Here's more from Dr. Jonathan Sakier.
6 months, 1 year, 2 years, doesn't matter about the interval. We all view the visit to our AME, our aviation medical examiner, with trepidation. For obvious reasons. If things don't go well, we could lose our freedom to fly, and that would be bad big time. But there are steps you can take to limit that likelihood. Of course, the best thing you can do is stay healthy, eat well, exercise regularly, undergo a bunch of screening tests to head disease off at the pass early before it can harm you and interfere with your flying. So first of all, choosing a doctor. Pilots ask me if their AME should be a different doctor to their regular physician, and this is something that there are differing opinions about. Look, if you do keep the two separate, you have to make sure that firstly, any health issues you have are dealt with bearing your flying in mind. Make sure that approved medications are prescribed, for instance, and there's no excuse for getting that wrong. AOPA has the up-to-date list on their website, so use it and tell your doctor about this great asset. The reason to have two different doctors, well, pilots are concerned that they'll not otherwise be able to discuss potentially disqualifying conditions with their physician. But then again, hiding problems from the FAA is not good for your health or your relationship with our friends in Oklahoma City. A famous doctor, Sir William Osler, said that a physician should be able, affable, and available, and those characteristics hold good today. Ask fellow pilots at your airport who their AIM is and what their experience have been. That's a good idea. Additionally, consider signing up for Pilot Protection Services. This AOPA service will provide you with a toolkit to keep out of medical and legal trouble And if you do have problems, they will be there to sort you out. I'm a subscriber, and I recommend you be one also. So keep well and fly well.
Thanks, Jonathan. And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us this week. And a reminder, you can also watch AOPA Live this week on your iPad or your iPhone anytime you like. Just download the show from iTunes. And we're also available on your big screen TV on our Roku channel. We hope to see you back here next Thursday. Till then, I'm Tom Haynes. Have a great weekend.